Weed is the new opium. Welcome back to the channel. I was shaken after reading a debut novel called The Ghost Bride by Yang Tzu, a hauntingly beautiful novel set in colonial Malaya, somewhere around the 18th and 19th centuries. What really got to me wasn't the romance or the ghosts. The ideas about the afterlife did get to me, but what really got to me were the revelations about opium. First, let's talk about opium. The novel is set during those times when, historically, the British Empire began to trade opium, which became one of their biggest sources of money income from trade. Opium was very useful to the British Empire, so the British Empire began throwing opium at the entire world, or at least every part of the world that the Brits wanted to conquer or use. When I say the name Brits, I don't mean it in a rude way at all. It's just very time-consuming saying the entire thing. The Great British Empire each time. So let's quickly see the definition of opium now. Opium, noun. A reddish-brown, heavy-scented addictive drug prepared from the juice of the opium poppy, used illicitly as a narcotic and occasionally in medicine as an analgesic. I don't even know what that means, but anyways, when the Brits began selling and distributing opium, they marketed it as this amazing natural herb you can smoke that is healthy, cures headaches, reduces pain, helps you sleep, treats cough effectively, and is exceptionally good for relaxation and stress relief. Sounds good, right? But they skipped mentioning the harmful side effects like addiction, dependency, depression, hormone imbalance, anxiety, increased risk of psychosis, cognitive decline over time, strain on relationships, and financial ruin, even unemployment. But still, the marketing of the drug was mostly rainbows, above all else mentioning and repeating over and over and over again about how opium is healthy and natural, a natural plant because it literally comes from a flower, and it even relieves stress, so why not? Sounds familiar. When it comes to something we keep hearing about today, literally everywhere, don't you think? Something we keep hearing about in movies, music, books. And no, not alcohol. Another thingy, the British Empire used opium as a quiet weapon. It worked slowly. At the start, mostly Malay people did not smoke opium, for example, but give it 10 years. In 10 years, everyone ended up smoking it obsessively, and the infrastructure of the country itself started to crumble. The people smoking it would tell themselves and others, I just like how it feels. I can stop whenever I want. I just don't want to stop now. But in reality, they won't stop even if they tried. They do stop living though. They do stop making real choices and decisions. They freeze in a single frame of their lives, never moving forward again, just remaining stuck. Just smoking and chilling in their own little bubbles. This is called the Opium Wars, or those are called the Opium Wars. It wasn't a real huge explosive war. No, it was sly. Manipulation, sneaking in like a tiny little parasite, and in order to control everything over time without anyone even realizing it. And what? Using this naturally derived plant, making it seem harmless. Historically, the British Empire were able to control many countries through opium, some of which include China, the main target, not conquered but militarily defeated and humiliated. It lost sovereignty in key areas through forced trade concessions, ceding of territory, foreign control over ports and laws, extraterritoriality. Hong Kong ceded to Britain. Treaty of Nanking, 1842, after the First Opium War, forced China to cede Hong Kong Island to Britain in perpetuity. Hong Kong became a British colony until its return to China in 1997. That's a lot of years. 3. Treaty ports like Shanghai, Changchun, I hope I'm saying those right, Guangzhou, Ningbo, Xiamen, Fuzhou opened to British, and later French. American and other Western powers, they started taking over, and foreign nationals had extraterritorial rights over China. China was not fully colonized, but it was semi-colonized through economic, legal, and territorial concessions. The fourth one is Taiwan and other areas, indirectly affected later also by opium, the plant, the harmless plant. Also, Southeast Asia. Britain used its colonial and trading posts to distribute opium widely through Myanmar, Burma, Malaysia, Malaya, Singapore, and Thailand, Siam. Also, some parts of Africa, and evidence also suggests that even some parts of Australia. The British Empire used the drug to subtly control and weaken the populations or whatever place they wanted to take over, softly, unnoticeably, creeping through communities, quietly changing everything. It's not violent, it's invisible, and it makes the ones targeted love the weapon. It makes the victims love the drug, and the scary part is that exact same thing is happening again, except this time, it's not opium, it's marijuana. And it's because of yet another imperialist colonial agenda, just like before. And if the links aren't lucid enough yet, I will spell it out. Weed versus opium. Here is a compare and contrast of weed, cannabis, and opium and its derivatives, focusing on both positive and negative effects across all areas of life. Social, relationships, physical, mental, everything. We're gonna look at everything. This is a grounded, non-glamorized comparison for a realistic understanding. So let's look at the two types of drugs. Weed is a psychoactive THCBD drug. Opium is a narcotic, analgesic, opioids. I really don't know what this is. Please don't ask me. Okay, the uses. For weed, recreational, medicinal. For opium, also recreational pain relief and palliative care, which means it's used for sick people. Therefore, medicinal, also basically the same uses. The addictiveness. Weed, low to moderate. The addiction itself is psychological, but the thing is that the new GMO strains across the entire globe are moderate addiction and growing more addictive over time, and this is confirmed, by the way, by scientists. For opium, the addictiveness scale is very high, physical and psychological. The mental effects. Weed. Positives. It can reduce anxiety. It can also cause anxiety though. PTSD symptoms, boosts creativity, aids sleep in moderation. Opium. Strong euphoria, deep sense of calm, emotional numbing, the negative sides on the mental. For weed, it can trigger paranoia, anxiety, psychosis, and motivation loss. For opium, the negative side effects are rapid tolerance, therefore you will need more and more over time. You will have mental fog, emotional detachment, risk of depression, and intense withdrawal symptoms if you try to stop. As a verdict, weed is less mentally invasive but can destabilize the mood. Opium gives powerful relief but devastates long-term mental clarity. The physical effects now. This is aspect number 2. For weed, the positives on the physical side are pain relief, muscle relaxation, anti-nausea, and stimulating appetite, which means it makes you want to eat more. For opium, the positives are also extreme pain relief, sedation, and it can be calming. The negative effects on the physical side. Weed, lung damage from smoking, appetite dysregulation, and poor coordination. For opium, lung damage, organ damage, constipation, overdose risk, breathing suppression, and withdrawal sickness. As a verdict, weed carries fewer fatal risks. Opium is physically destructive, especially in the long run. Now let's see the third dimension, which is the effect on relationships. Both of them can enhance bonding if used socially because it creates shared experiences in the high. However, those bonding experiences are always temporary intimacy. Let's look at the negatives. For weed, emotional detachment, mood swings, and forgetfulness. For opium, total relational breakdown, manipulation, emotional absence, and dependency on caregivers. As a verdict, weed may make someone flaky or disengaged. Ever had a friend who just doesn't want any responsibilities? Well, both drugs do that to people. They make people escape responsibility, and both of those drugs can destroy trust and stability in relationships. Social effects. Weed is accepted socially now, and there are even subcultures existing around it, but opium is rarely positive socially because it's a very isolated drug. It's very isolating, The negatives. Weed has stereotypes, the lazy stoner. The other negative social effect is that weed reduces ambition and reliability. For opium, the negative social effects are heavy stigma often leading to social withdrawal, legal trouble, and even a risk of homelessness. The verdict: weed can hinder social progress, but opium often severs social ties completely. Here is the life impact. Weed, positive, can be used without destroying routines, if in moderation. For opium, it's useful in medical care, okay? And it's a temporary escape from trauma. Life impact negatives. For weed, it can derail productivity, ambition, and mental focus. Opium can cause total life derailment. Jobs, goals, and self-care collapse. So as a verdict, weed may slow you down, it may slow your life down, but opium can stop your life altogether. So of course, opium is more addictive faster, but as you can tell, both have mental health, long-term effects, physical safety effects, addiction risk, creativity and functioning hindering. They both can have a medical necessity for pain management, but both have social damage potential. And even though weed is marketed as this amazing, harmless thing, the truth is it's not. And I'm even seeing it in people around me who do smoke. A weed addiction survivor once said, "I didn't lose my mind in one night. Weed just slowly disconnected it, piece by piece." Now that we look at the similarities and differences, both drugs, and after all of this research, I am thinking, okay, weed, when used moderately, can be manageable. It can have a therapeutic influence if you're someone with mental issues. However, long-term can definitely dull ambition, damage memory, and emotionally numb people. Meanwhile, opium, devastating, especially outside of medical use. Opium offers short-term relief, but long-term destruction, physically, mentally, socially. Weed slows down your life and changes you over time. Opium erases your life. I am not here to call anyone out. I'm not judging. But I am paying attention. I am paying attention to the people I know who picked up the weed habit and got stuck in their lives for the past 5 years, still meandering in the same old places. I am paying attention when my friend returned from the USA to tell me that people in the USA have a huge drug problem and that people are dependent on weed, making excuses like,
"Oh, I don't smoke. I just do it before bed because it helps me sleep."
Or, "Oh, I only smoke because of stress.
"Oh, I only smoke when I have anxiety." "Oh, no. I'm not addicted. No, not at all. I just smoke 5 times a day, but I can stop whenever I want."
Are you kidding me? This is way more serious than we thought. Weed is way worse than we were told. And in fact, scientifically, weed now is different than the weed 50 years ago. The one now is engineered to make you dependent. The people breeding the plant and crossbreeding and selling it they're crossbreeding more and more addictive types to get more sales, to earn more money, get more customers, and boom, people are hooked. I looked around me recently and I realized almost everyone I know has tried weed at least one time, even in a country where it's illegal. Some of those people are casual with it, sure, but others, they spiraled. I'm talking addiction real addiction, real obsession. And I know people online love to scream,
weed isn't addictive, it's natural, it's leaf, it's vegan, it's medicine, it's better than alcohol.
But honestly, I've seen the opposite with my own eyes. I personally know 2 men who completely lost themselves to weed. One developed schizophrenia, the other bipolar disorder. Both cases were triggered by weed use, and their doctors confirmed it. These aren't internet rumors. It's real, and for them, it's irreversible. People don't realize until it's too late that weed can be the match that lights a lifelong fire of mental illness. I also know someone who did weed and it basically sped up all of his bad habits and bad addictions, and right now, he can't get his life straight. So if you know anyone like that, that's probably the reason. And more than that, there are friends I've had to distance myself from, not because I don't love them, but because I could never catch them sober. Not once. They were always high or planning their next hit. Their lives were frozen in slow motion, sedated smiles masking dreams that never got built. It's actually hard to look at. Cannabis is not harmless. For some people, it opens a door they can never close. Here is what Dr. Sir Robin Murray, lead schizophrenia researcher, said, or is quoted saying, has been quoted saying, cannabis-induced psychosis is real, and for many, it's not temporary. It's just scary. And also, you need to know that if weed does not cause schizophrenia for you, it will cause something else from the other symptoms, at least like demotivation or needing more dopamine or all of the spiral. And the other thing is that weed is a gateway drug. You may start with alcohol, then you'll shift to weed, then you'll move to something else. It's always like that, a domino effect, but even just weed, it's already bad enough, but it's everywhere. It's in music videos, in Netflix shows. It's marketed with pastel colors and cute fonts and cartoon characters, frozen in lollipops and candy bars, wrapped up like self-care, like a rebellious spa day. It's so chill. In fact, concerningly chill. So freaking chill that it kills your potential. Weed is so chill it makes you okay with wasting your time. And that is dangerous. Weed is so utterly chill that one day you wake up no longer feeling anything. Here is the pressing question. If there are no empires anymore, then who is running this new invasion? This invasion of weed creeping like vines through the world? Because, let's be real, the British Empire is gone. But colonialism, control power, that didn't vanish. It's stronger than ever. It just evolved, it changed, it became more secretive. It started wearing masks. We are living in a masquerade party. We no longer have kings and queens pulling the strings. Instead, we have something way more sinister. Faceless elites. We don't know their names. They don't even need to take responsibility. A handful of billionaires, private interest groups, people who worship money, tiny circles of people who own the media, the data, the drugs, the entertainment, the schools, the banks, the foods, the algorithms. And they're not sending warships anymore. They're sending ideas. They're sending addictions. They're sending escape mechanisms. They don't want you angry. They want you high, entertained, and too tired to notice your own cage. They've figured out how to distract an entire generation without ever lifting a sword. They give people weed, pornography, Netflix, and then people never ask who's robbing their mind. The easiest slaves are the ones who think that they're free because they're stoned and scrolling. So I ask again, what are they trying to blind us to this time? Because every era has its distraction. In the 1800s, thousands, okay, my math is bad. You get it. Opium made men weak and empires strong, and today weed is making people okay with having nothing, happy with being sedated, calm, compliant, sedated, okay with owning nothing and doing nothing more than being nothing more than a soft blur in someone else's machine. But you're not a blur. You are not meant to be numb. You're not meant to be someone else's robot. Hey, if you're enjoying this, you can buy me a matcha latte to support me. The link's in the description. Also, I'm currently open for art commissions on Fiverr. I left the link in the description in case you're interested. The history that we keep repeating. The Opium Wars weren't just about trade. They were about power. The British Empire used addiction as a political tool. They flooded China with opium, watched the drug break apart the community, dissolve resistance, and weaken a nation from the inside like a disease. What is terrifying is that the same strategy is being replayed now, but on a global scale. Except now we've been trained to beg for our own sedation. We celebrate it, share it, hashtag it, and in every war there's a weapon. This time it's pleasure, convenience, a false sense of peace. Bread and circuses were once for Rome, now it's dopamine and distractions. Weed does not feel like a weapon because it doesn't scream. It lulls you to sleep. It whispers. And most people will never see the trap because it comes wrapped in, like sugar paper. A society that is drugged, distracted, and divided will never storm the castle. The ruling class, they fear your clarity more than your chaos. The myth of creative highs. I've heard that same line from countless artists. Weed helps me create. And I believed it too, for a while. But the truth is that what feels like creativity on weed is often just the illusion of it. Actually, can I tell you something a little personal, but don't tell anyone, okay? Don't. I tried weed like once or twice in 2024 because other artists and painters told me it will unlock my third eye and make me creative. You know what happened? I started sketching. And I felt like I was super creative and doing a lot. And it felt like I was drawing for hours, for real. Couple days later, when I was completely off the thing and like it went away and made my brain normal again, my brain became normal and not sluggish, I opened that sketchbook and you know what I saw? One incomplete eye sketch. An eye sketch? Really? Eye? It's the most basic, uncreative thing a third grader can draw. It wasn't even symmetrical. It wasn't even complete. I bet it took me 10 minutes. So take it from me, weed may make us feel more creative and it make us feel smarter, feel deeper in the moment. But the work we produce rarely matches the vision in our heads. I've seen musicians abandon half-written albums, writers with 10 unfinished drafts, never even finishing it. Weed gives you dopamine, ideas. It takes the drive to complete those things, though. It makes hard work feel longer, harder, and less fun. To all the artists out there, weed isn't rebellion. It's sedation and dopamine sold as freedom, and we need to stop believing the lies we're being sold. Creativity isn't just inspiration. It's stamina, discipline, clarity, and those are very important things that weed slowly dissolves. You do not need to be high to be brilliant. You just need to be awake. The normalization machine. Ask yourself, why now? Why is weed being legalized and marketed, is aestheticized and normalized all at once? Now, globally, who benefits from a generation that doesn't care to fight back? Who benefits from people who are content to be poor but peaceful, underpaid but pacified? You are being trained to be okay with less. Not just less money, but less energy, less emotion, less ambition, less clarity, less humanity, less rebellion, less dreams, and less goals. They want you stoned, scrolling, streaming, smiling, because someone very rich is making money off of every second you're not thinking clearly. And I know it hurts, but it's real. My own story, sort of. I don't talk about myself often on this channel, but I will say this. I have cut off people that I love because I couldn't save them from their haze. I've watched dreams collapse into smoke. I've had friends who were once brilliant, magnetic, had a young, youthful, fresh aura. Friends who were full of potential until they became shells of who they used to be, because it always starts as something casual, a why not moment, and ends like quicksand. And even though I did tell them once and twice, sometimes subtly, in a very nice way, and sometimes in a more firm way, I would tell them about what I was seeing or the changes I was seeing in them and the wasted potential I was seeing in them due to the drugs. When they wouldn't listen, I just don't want to be this naggy person, so I guess that's why I make YouTube videos. If they want to watch this, then maybe they will know the thing I'm talking about. Maybe all those research and points will be enough to make them finally make a decision to stop. Maybe this is why I'm making this video, not to shame, but to wake some people up. Just in case you are wondering if you should try smoking, then this is why I've made this video. Or just in case you know someone who's numbing their pain day after day to a drug coined as non-addictive. This video, this is why I made this. Because no one else is going to tell you the truth. They are too busy selling you the next calming product. The world is too busy selling you the next THC serum, the next dreamy edible. You don't need those things. Your friend does not need those things. I don't need those things. None of us need those stuff. We need ourselves, the unfiltered version of ourselves. We need our raw power back. We need to be there for ourselves, and we need to show up for life, awake and sober. 3 years ago, there is another drug I sacrificed. It's not as bad as weed, but it's also viral, and it's the most popular drug on the planet, caffeine. This is the video. I will leave the link in the end and in the description in case you would like to watch it after this video ends. The chains of modernity. Modernity is not freedom. It's a chain that looks like a party bracelet. You are not healing. You escape, and they want you to escape forever. They told us that we're free now, but look around. We're more addicted, more anxious, more medicated, more overworked, more distracted than ever. People are chasing money and escape routes all day long. We've been promised liberation, but we were delivered sedation. Isn't it strange that the more technology we own, the less time we feel that we have? The more ways we have to connect, the lonelier we get. The more wellness products we consume, the sicker we feel. Weed is just one piece of the puzzle, but it's a big piece, because if they can sedate you, then they never have to stop you. And maybe that's the real reason you're being handed your own leash with a smile. If you are still awake, then you are one of the few, and I need you, because this isn't just a video, it's a refusal to be tamed. It's a refusal to be boxed in. If this shook something inside you, subscribe. Not because I need followers, but because I need fighters. I need a creative tribe. Hit the bell if you want to be part of this. And if you want to buy me a matcha latte, the link's in the description. It's a way to support me and help me continue doing what I'm doing. And before you leave, tell me your thoughts. Tell me your story. Flood the comments. Let this be a space where we remember that we are not alone. Let this be where clarity begins again. No judgment, just truth. Let's wake up. See you in the next one.